My name is Jan Grosso. I'm assistant conservator here at the Neobay Lab, and I'd like to welcome all of you. The artifacts that you see before you come from Ozette. Ozette was one of the 5 year-round villages of the Makah people. Ozette was one of the 5 year-round villages of the...
Start again? Yeah, it's okay. Go ahead and start all over.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
start from the top because I had a bad movement here. This thing was locked down. Okay, just go ahead and restart.
My name is Jan Grosso. I'd like to welcome you to the Neobay Lab. The artifacts that you see here are from Ozette. Ozette was one of the 5 year-round villages of the Makah people. It was probably one of the larger ones. It stretched for around 3/4 of a mile on the ocean beach at Cape Alava. The artifacts here are 300 to 500 years old, and the
Hold the mic in a little closer to you this way. Don't point it out like that.
like
No. Hold it in like this. Just lay it against you like that. There. Just hold it down here below you. Don't have to point it at you. That's fine.
Can you explain a little bit something about? Okay, I've got this picture here now of
What that picture is.
the section, cross section of
the picture you see here is a simple drawing of the side wall at Ozette, and it shows the different layers of midden. The top layer is the historic unit. This contains historic materials such as metal, bottles, dishes, glass trade beads, and all sorts of trade items. As you can see here from the drawing, the gray part shows where the mudslides occurred. Now, there were several mudslides at Ozette, and Ozette was such a beautiful place to live that the people would move back and rebuild after each slide. This unit here is the late prehistoric period at Ozette, and we find no evidence of trade items, such as I explained earlier in the upper layers. This large area here is where the mudslide occurred 300 to 500 years ago. And the items that you see on the table here come from Unit 5, which is where the old house was located. There was another mudslide that occurred earlier, and we have a deeper unit. However, the preservation in this area is not very good, and so we feel that it is really better to save the things that are so well preserved. You can see that we do have perishable artifacts here. What makes Ozette such a unique site is the fact that we are uncovering houses that have the tools and all the items that the people were using at the time the slide occurred. We have boxes and bowls, baskets, hats, rain hats, and we have slate blades, and the handles are still attached. In most cases, archaeologists would find the slate blade, but the handle would be just a brown stain in the dust. The people at Ozette were whalers and sealers. We have their whaling equipment, their whaling harpoons, the harpoon heads. We have the sealing equipment, sealing harpoons. We have fishing equipment, and many, many items. To date, there 44,000 items have come from Ozette. one example is we do have whale vertebrae here, and these whale vertebrae have the mussel shell blade that was used for harpooning the whales broken off in them, and we have a warehouse of whale bones, so we do know that the people were fantastic whalers. I've lost my train of thought.
It's okay.
This is a whalebone insert.
Marvelous, simply marvelous.
Now check it.
Hello, hello. The first phase of the OZET project began in 1966. Dr. Doherty from Washington State University brought a crew to OZET. They were sure there was a village located there. They ran test trenches up the side of the hill, and they did indeed find artifacts. During Makah days, the crew visited here in Nia Bay, and Dr. Doherty was approached by some of the senior citizens they asked him at that time if he had found buried houses. He said, "No, we haven't. Why do you ask?" And they said, "Well, we have legends that go way back that say that part of Ozette was covered by a giant clay mudslide a long time ago." So Dr. Doherty had a core boring machine flown to Ozette, and they ran test holes up and down the beach, and they did indeed find buried houses. The crew returned in the summer of '67 and excavated some more. At that time, funding ran out, and so Ozette was forgotten for a time, and in 1970 they planned to come out and excavate again during the summer. But the winter of 1970 was very harsh, and the bank at Ozette was eroded away. And the hikers on the beach started carrying artifacts off that were exposed. So the Park Service called the tribal council here in Neah Bay and explained the situation to them. Ed Claplanaho, who was then tribal chairman, called Dr. Doherty in Pullman and explained to him that there was an emergency situation at Ozette. So Dr. Doherty came over and checked the situation out, and at that time decided we needed to move people in earlier than planned. Now the second phase of the excavation at Ozette began then in April of 1970, when Dr. Doherty had a crew of 3 people sent to the site to guard it, plus build buildings and set up the site. We've been working there ever since, and we work on a year-round basis. I think then you can go into the artifacts. So far, at Ozette, we have excavated 1 house completely. We are also now working on a second, a third, and we have looked at a 4th house. And during these excavations of the second, third, and 4th houses, we have discovered a 5th house. To date, we know of 9 buried houses at Ozette. We do hope to continue and excavate at least 3 completely and leave the future excavations to archaeologists who will possibly have more knowledge as to how to excavate this type of site, and also there may be better methods of preservation in the future.
I think we can insert a bunch of stuff during all of that.
Yeah.
Somehow I want to get in here the fact that the Makah people have worked with us very willingly, and that this laboratory is due to their efforts.
That can be in your wrap of this segment, probably. However you want to wrap it up.
It's not recorded.
Rolling, you got your watch going?
That's the one.
Okay. For example, these slate blades here, archaeologists usually would find the blades, but the wooden handles that you see here would be a brown stain in the dust.
Okay, do it again, just like that.
Okay. For example, these slate blades that you see here, archaeologists in most cases would find the blade, but the wooden handles that you see in place here would be nothing but a brown stain in the dust.
Thanks a lot.
Now, what I'm wondering is on this conservation bit, possibly Jerry could wind it up by saying that the Makahs, he wants you to show the girls working here and so forth, that the Makahs had built the laboratory for us and made possible
Rolling. There's plenty later. We had 2 or 3 of these inserts that we could use. I think it'll work good. You know, for a little bit more. So this is a possible insert that we can use. Okay.
I'll walk down again.
Okay, he wants to get the, I'm gonna stop her now. Okay, okay. So,
Wait just a little bit.
we need about 20 seconds or so of meter on the front here.
Let the machine get up to speed.
This is take 469. Let's try to do it right this time, Skip.
I'm Jerry Grasso, conservator for Washington State University Washington Archaeological Research Center, and in charge of the laboratory here at Nia Bay. The main things we're trying to do with conservation work here at Nia Bay Laboratory is to establish techniques which are suitable for mass production processing of large quantities of artifacts, because we have some 24,000 perishable items so far with a relatively small staff and a relatively small budget. The material that we're working with, much of it would turn to dust within a few weeks after excavation. All of it begins to deteriorate almost immediately on exposure to air. We've had a great deal of success in establishing techniques which do work for mass production processing of the material, and we're developing other techniques for special problem cases. One of the goals that we have here at Nia Bay Laboratory is to have the Makah conservators who are in training here, Patricia Wilkie, Kathleen Powell, be ready in the relatively near future to take over the maintenance, the conservation, the preservation of the artifacts that we have recovered from OZET. as well as other projects which have been going on and will be going on the reservation as part of the Makah Cultural and Research Center. I'd like to introduce the girls to you. They've been working here for several years. I think Tricia's been here for 3 years and Kathy 4, working on the program. And they're becoming more and more competent and ready for this very responsible role that they will have in maintenance of these things, which are both scientifically extremely important and, of course, are very important to the Makah people. First is Trish. Would you like to say a little bit about what you're doing and the program in general? Trish?
You didn't tell me I was going to have to say. What do you mean the program in general?
What you're doing, what you're learning.
Okay. God, Jerry, you didn't tell me I was going to have to talk.
Just tell me what you're doing here, what this is.
Tell me when.
Yeah, we're okay with him. Start to see the introduction. So let me start on a tight shot of what she's doing there, and she can really explain. So you can hold the microphone for her, and she can be doing.
Go ahead with your work.
Okay, now I'm ready.
Well, give a level.
Want a level on it?
Yeah.
Go ahead, talk.
Okay, this is a whaling harpoon basket. Okay?
Can we have your hand in there when you're brushing?
Okay.
Now go ahead and start.
Okay, this is a whaling harpoon basket made out of cedar bark, and it's already gone into routine treatment, and I'm working on repairing and cleaning and just general repair work on the basket.
Thank you, Trish. I have a few words from Kathy Powell. Would you like to tell us what you're doing there, Kathy?
Well, right. I was working on the line here. It was broken down in this area here, and what I've done is ethulosed it with 4,000, and I tied the line back in this area here, and then just put plastic over it, wrapped it in plastic, and then just shot ethulose into it. And that's generally about it, and right now it's stable.
Thank you. It gives you an idea of some of the kinds of things that we are doing in the lab. It's a variety of things. Some things we do over and over again, literally thousands of times. Other things are a one-of-a-kind case, require, in some cases, years of planning on how it's to be done because we only have one chance at it, and we try to do it right the first time. The laboratory here was provided for the project by the Makah tribe, the Makah people, so that we would have a place where we could carry out our research here on the reservation rather than having to take the artifacts away to our own facilities at Pullman. This way the things, I think, are where they belong because the people here do have a very close identification with the material, and it's only logical that the things be kept close to the people who are so closely related to them and so interested in them.